So this summer, Manchester United decided once again to spend big money on a new striker. His name is Benjamin Sesko, although you guys probably already knew that. Sesko hasn't necessarily started the season on fire, right? He's played 2.3 90-minute matches in the Premier League, he's had 5 shots, one of which was on target, and he's accumulated 0.4 expected goals. But don't worry, I'm not fazed in the slightest. This is an amazing young striker. All we need to do to get him scoring goals is get him in sync with our creative players. And the reason why that's so important is because all of our creators are actually quite different. So let's start off with Bruno Fernandes for a very simple reason. He is the best creative footballer on the planet, in my opinion. So therefore, if you want to score goals at Manchester United, get yourself in sync with Bruno Fernandes. This season already, he has created the most chances in the Premier League. He started on fire. However, his creativity is different to what it's been in the past. We know that Bruno Fernandes used to be this advanced player, sort of almost at times like a second striker playing just behind the number 9. He was responsible often for creating chances in the final third, cute little balls around the corner, little flicks and tricks, things like that to get his team chances. These days, it's changed with Bruno. He's a deeper midfielder, but that has not stopped him from creating opportunities for his teammates. And actually, if we look further back in his career, we can see that he's always been quite good from this position. Basically, what Sesko needs to learn is that if Bruno Fernandes gets time on the ball, gets his studs on the ball and has a look up, Sesko needs to be on the move. Now, the reason I say this is because of these 2 clips here. Now, these are very old clips from one of Bruno Fernandes' first seasons at the football club. And this just shows that this is something that he's been doing for a long time, even though he's played different positions. We can see him here on the right-hand side. He receives the ball. And what he likes to do in these positions here is put his studs on the ball and at the same time have a look up to see what's going on in the box. On this occasion, he's looking for Anthony Martial, Manchester United's number 9 at the time. And the reason he wants to get his head up is because on his second touch, he wants to know his plan already. So the first touch is about taking a look, assessing the information. The second touch is about acting on it. He wants to find his striker with this second touch into the box. And we know that he's got the vision, right? And he's got the ability to play these passes. Again here, he receives the ball and he's got time on the ball. When Bruno Fernandes has got time on the ball, he will often put his studs on the ball to control it. Whilst putting his studs on the ball, stopping the ball, he takes that moment to look up and assess the information ahead of him. On this occasion, he then pings the ball into the box, and to be fair, it is Cristiano Ronaldo with a ridiculous finish. Now, those screenshots were from matches several years ago, but even if we go to last year, we can see from Bruno Fernandes' assist map that this was something that he was doing once again, creating chances from these deeper positions. So this is what Benjamin Sesko needs to learn. If Bruno Fernandes receives the ball with time and space anywhere in the opposition's half, that has to be the trigger for Sesko to start making his move. His movement has been pretty good so far. He needs to do it pretty much every time Bruno gets the ball. Now, the next position that we need to discuss, and the next dynamic that we need to discuss, is Benjamin Sesko and the wing-backs. Because, of course, creativity from the wing-backs, particularly Dorgu and Mazraoui, is going to be very different to Bruno Fernandes. First of all, because they are completely different players. They are literally defenders to start off with. But also because the situations in which they get time to actually deliver a ball into the box is very different. For Bruno Fernandes, he can often have the whole pitch in front of him. He can sit, he can have a look, and he can pick a pass. For the wing-backs, what we often see, and we've discussed this a lot recently, is them arriving into space. So the far opposition fullback will be a little bit tucked in, which gives our wing-back space in this position here. When a wing-back or a fullback or a winger has space and time, we know there's a certain corridor that they like to look for. If you can get the ball in that corridor of uncertainty in that position there, you've got a seriously good opportunity of finding a player. And this is particularly common in wing-back systems. If you look at the most low near-post crosses in the Premier League over the past 18 months, 3 of the top 4 teams are teams that use wing-backs. And that's because these systems naturally create these situations where your wing-back arrives early and then looks to fizz a ball across the box. So in terms of how that needs to work with Benjamin Sesko, it's actually quite simple. When the ball is going wide to our wing-backs, particularly early on in moves, we really do not need to overcomplicate anything here. When Dorgu and Mazraoui pick the ball up, it's likely that either on their first or second touch, they will be fizzing the ball across into the penalty area. If we look at their key pass map from last season, we can see that in the case of them, they are both wide on the pitch. They are in these wide zones. So this is what Sesko needs to be ready for. When our wingbacks receive that ball in this position, Sesko needs to be darting across. And I think he is very, very capable of this. This is why, once again, I'm not worried in the slightest because Sesko is very capable of making these runs. We just need to get the timing and we need to sync these players up. When we do, Sesko will score a ridiculous number of tap-ins. I should also add, by the way, those wide players need to actually improve their delivery as well. Now we finally get to the interesting part where we get to talk about our new front three that might finally start a match together for the first time this weekend. We're going to start off with Matheus Cunha because once again, his chance creation, his habits, his instincts are very different to Bruno Fernandes, and they are certainly very different to Patrick Dorgu and Mazraoui. Cunha is a very different type of player to those guys. Cunha is a provocative ball carrier. He's someone that wants to pick the ball up relatively deep on the left-hand side, and he wants to drive centrally with it. We can see that in his progressive carry map for Wolverhampton Wanderers last season. Cunha is a player who wants to pick the ball up in these positions and drive. Why does he want to do that? Well, like I said, he's provocative. He wants to provoke a response from the opposition defenders. That is how he creates space, and actually, ultimately, how he creates his chances. If we look at his assist map from last season, you can see that a lot of them are coming from a deeper position on the left-hand side. And the reason for that is because of the space that he creates. You see, when he drives inside with the pitch, very often he's going to commit an opposition fullback. But due to the level of his quality, he's also going to engage the next player as well. He's going to provoke the next player. And what Cunha loves to do is get the near side centre-back concentrated on him. He's provoking a response from this player. He likes this player to lock onto him. And the reason for that is because his central players, his teammates, can then make runs into the blind space. That might be from the striker, or it might be from a wing-back or a winger, depending on the system. But what he likes to do is provoke a response from this player so that someone like Sesko can then spin in behind. Now, this is exactly what I'm talking about here, and this is what Sesko and Amorim needs to learn. That this is Cunha's instinct, this is how he likes to play. So Sesko needs to make a certain run to really make the most of this. Cunha picking the ball up on the left-hand side, driving inside. The player he wants to provoke is this one here. So here, the defender isn't really responding. Here, the defender is now facing him. He is committed to playing against Cunha. The centre-back steps out and is aggressive towards Cunha. Cunha again has provoked him. That means the defender, though, cannot track either of these runs. He's locked on to Cunha now. He's committed to this situation. That's when you can get those blindside runs, and that's when you can go behind into this sort of position here. We've also got another clip. This one's a little bit different, but it is the same effect. Cunha picks the ball up wider on this occasion and isn't as aggressive with his carrying. All he does is he takes sort of like a small touch inside to his right. But again, what he's trying to do is the same thing. Just look at the centre-backs right now. Now look at this one. This one is now provoked. He's engaged on Cunha. Cunha uses this moment to then find a space in behind. Because whilst this defender is looking at Cunha, the run can be made in behind. And the defender has literally no chance of tracking it. This is what Cunha wants to do. He wants to draw players out of space to then find that room in behind. Now, once again, the reason why this is so great and good news for Manchester United fans is because Sesko is more than capable of doing this. Sesko is actually excellent at making these blindside runs. He's really good at finding himself in that space. Now, granted, it does mean that he's likely to be finishing on his left foot, which isn't completely natural to him, but he's still a pretty good ball striker. And also, if he's got time, he can still work the ball onto his right foot. And I actually thought we were going to see it in this clip here. Could Cunha just slip that ball into Benjamin Sesko? He didn't on that occasion, but in the future, I think we will. And again, I think we'll score goals. Now, the final dynamic that we need to talk about to get Sesko scoring more goals is the dynamic and the understanding with Bryan and Mbeumo. And the reason why we need to discuss this is because, once again, it's very different to every other player. Mbeumo isn't like Mazraoui, he isn't like Bruno Fernandes, he isn't like Dorgu, and he's not like Matheus Cunha. He's quite unique in terms of the way that he likes to create. So in the case of Mbeumo, he is a player that likes to play a little bit wider than Cunha, for example. Mbeumo, in terms of his progressive carries from last season, we could see they were coming from a wider zone. He was looking to play in this sort of area rather than in the middle of the pitch. But in terms of what Mbeumo wants to do, it's fairly simple. We've discussed this so many times. He's very efficient with the ball. He's not too fussed about actually beating a man. He just wants to give himself a little bit of space. And that's really important to the way that he plays. We saw Cunha really trying to attack defenders and draw them out of position. With Mbeumo, he's not so fussed about doing that. He's more fussed about finding his half a yard of space. Very often for him, that is going to be deeper and a little bit more central. And if you look at this map from last season, you can see that is exactly where his crosses were coming from. Now, in terms of what that means for Sesko, it means there's a certain area that he needs to be. Mbeumo's left-footed crosses tend to have a certain arc on them. If we just get the line up here, when Mbeumo is crossing, he's looking for that sort of bend on his cross. What does that mean for Sesko? he needs to be getting himself into that position. Those are the areas that he needs to be attacking. Because what Mbeumo will do is he will fade those crosses out towards the back post. So Sesko needs to find himself in these positions. For that to happen, he also needs players around him. You know, can Bruno Fernandes be someone that crashes the box? Can Cunha? Can Dorgu kind of sort of distract the fullback on the far side? Possibly. But this is where Sesko needs to be getting himself. You want an example of this? Just look at Mbeumo's performance against Manchester United last season. It was good. And we didn't like it at the time. Now we would love a good Mbeumo performance in this fixture. But Mbeumo on the right-hand side, he's going to pick the ball up in a wider position. Initially, he goes towards Harry Amas. He sort of confronts him, but he's not really trying to beat him or shift him too much. All he's trying to do is get him on the back foot so that Mbeumo can work space for himself. Just half a yard. Then, what does he want to do? He wants to put the ball somewhere in that region there. It's not always going to be back post. Sometimes it might be a reverse ball. But this is where Sesko needs to be attacking. When Mbeumo's got the ball, Sesko needs to find himself in the width of the goalposts. In these positions is where he will score goals. Because Mbeumo's delivery can be deadly. And Sesko, again, from this position, could certainly finish this chance. Now, all in all, the point I'm trying to make is that Sesko will eventually click with the forwards around him because I think the habits and the instincts of our forwards actually suit Sesko. Whether that's attacking the box early, whether it's drifting behind centre-backs, or moving into that corridor of uncertainty, I think Sesko can do all of it. So it's good news. Eventually, I think it will click. We just need to supply better deliveries into the box, particularly in the case of the wing-backs. We also, though, just need to give it time. He's a young striker playing in a new team. Potentially this weekend, as we said, playing in this front three for the first time, like ever. So it's going to take a little bit of time. But eventually, over the course of the season, we will see these instincts, we will see these habits sort of tying in quite nicely. And I'm still confident that Sesko will get a good amount of goals. I'm not talking about a 40-goal return in all competitions, but for his first season, he just needs to start finding the back of the net. And I am confident, I am very confident that he will. He just needs to recognise those triggers with his teammates, and his teammates need to do the same thing. And Amorim needs to sort of put it all together to make sure that it actually happens on the football pitch. If it does, Sesko will score goals and Manchester United will win football matches. So we end the video on a positive today. Sesko will score goals at United. I'm convinced of it as long as we get this working. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. You guys should be as well. If you are, leave a like on this video. Also leave a comment and also subscribe to the channel because we are now finished for today. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.